Hey up everybody, my name is Joshua Morrison, director of Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about journaling. So you might have had a diary or something when you were a teenager, stuff like that, and you might have read back on it later on in your life and gone, oh wow, I don't remember that. Oh, that little bit there was a bit interesting. Oh yeah, I was into that sort of thing at the time, wasn't I? And you read it, right? And it just brings back all sorts of little memories, right? And so I read back my old teenage diary ages ago, like probably about 7 years ago, right? And I thought to myself, oh wow, I should start doing this again. And so what I did is I just started, every day I would just type into a Word document. I didn't bother with like actually journaling on paper and books and stuff because, I don't know, I just found it so much easier to just type, just like almost non-consciously, just and I wouldn't even think, right? I would just type what worked, and sometimes I would just go onto these random nonsensical tangents just because I was just typing pure improv. And like, if I was making something that didn't really make any sense, if I was saying something that didn't make any sense, I'd just keep going, and then I go, this doesn't really make any sense, this bit's sort of a bit nonsense. But I would try and explain what happened in the day, what I was feeling and all that kind of stuff, right? And I did that for about 5 years. And I collated it all into one big Word document. And I found out I'd written somewhere in the realm of about 450,000 words, which for reference is slightly longer than all of Lord of the Rings. So I've got a lot of that to read through at some point in my later life. So middle-aged me is going to be quite happy reading through that. A lot of it's moaning. A lot of it's just general complaining about stuff. And then last year, what I started doing is I took all the old phone recordings that I had because, you know, I'm going out to meet friends and stuff, and I used to just like recording people and just like recording our little hangouts and stuff like that, right? And so what I would do is I went and found all the old clips and I just compiled them into these long 2-3 hour sort of vlogs, as I sort of called them. I never uploaded them to YouTube or anything like that. They just sit on a hard drive, right? And so I made probably about 8 of those, and that came up to about 10 hours, and that was all of the past footage from like 2016 up till about 2023-ish when I started doing that. And it was really sort of quite satisfying just to find all the old things. Like I went onto Facebook and I found all the videos that other people had posted of us on Facebook, just like, you know, hanging out and stuff like that. And I would screen record those Facebook videos and put them into the archive as well. I've got basically everything. I've got all my old YouTube videos, all my friends' old YouTube videos. I've got everything for future sort of me, because in the future I know what's going to happen. I'm going to be like 50 or 60 years old, right? And I'll be getting nostalgic for me now, or, you know, this sort of 2010, 2020 sort of era, when this feels like it's the simple times, you know, and 2050 or 2060 will be the complicated times. You know how now people sort of think of now as being the complicated times, and like the 70s or the 60s or the 80s as being the simple times. I mean, that's just going to shift, because in the 60s and the 70s, they probably thought that the 30s were the simple times, and now they're living in a weird, complicated era where with rock and roll and all this sort of stuff. So, you know, the times are always changing, and I thought, well, it'd be good to get some kind of accurate depiction of what today was like. So this present age, right? So I started just continuing to make more little archive footage for myself. So if I was walking around, I would just record myself just rambling about whatever was going on, like who am I going to meet, what am I doing, all that kind of stuff. Am I going, you know, if I'm walking to the library, I'd say I'm walking to the library to do X, Y, and Z to print something out. Going to Lidl, and then I did like a few just like taking the camera and just like walking around Lidl, so that you get an idea of what a Lidl looks like in the year 2020 whatever, 2 or something like that. And that was just quite useful for, you know, the future archive purposes, because I've gone back at some of those 2017 recordings and just, there's stuff that I didn't remember, you know, just little interactions, or like someone will appear in a video that I've just completely forgotten about. I forgot they even existed, and I was like, oh shit, yeah, that person was all right. Yeah, I've completely forgot they ever existed, and seeing them in a video brings back little extra memories, right? So it's just nice to put these bits down on some kind of, you know, actualized kind of piece of media, let's say, just so that I can watch it back or read it back and just know what things were like now. Because like, I'm not going to be able to know exactly what it was like in the year 2025, in the year 2065, you know, just off the top of my memory, because my memory of events will change and my recollection will no longer be accurate 50 years down the line, the same way that I can't accurately tell you about sometime in like 2010, because that was 15 years ago, you know, and it was totally different time and I was a totally different person, and in the year 2050 I'll be a totally different person from me today. And it's just interesting to see what, you know, was going on in the past, you know. Like, I remember I saw one that was just us hanging out in some friend's house, and I was trying to figure out whose house it was, and then I eventually figured it out and I was like, oh fucking hell, I haven't seen that guy in like 10 years. I wonder what happened to him. And I you know, maybe there's another piece of this archive footage where we say in a conversation maybe what happened to him. I don't know, because at this point I genuinely have about 100 hours worth of this stuff to sift through. So when I'm like 50 or 60 and I'm feeling a bit nostalgic for now, I can just go back and I can scan through, I can pick and choose what I'm interested in. Do I want a bit of 2015? Do I want a bit of 2020? Do I want a bit of 2025? You know, that kind of thing. And I can see all the little state increments of my development from, I guess, childhood to adulthood. Because it's, you know, it's not like you just wake up one day and it's like, oh, I'm an adult now. It's a slow sort of gradual process of maturity. And seeing it actually play out in video form is quite interesting. And at some point when I have a lot of free time on my hands, which isn't going to be anytime soon, what I want to do is I want to take all of these, like this 100 hours worth of footage, which is just in the form of these videos now. I've deleted all the individual files and I've just put it on these big, like 3-hour long compilation vlog type things, right? I want to take all that footage and then just edit it down into one like 90-minute semi-movie. Maybe I'll release it, maybe I won't, probably won't. If I did, everyone that's involved probably needs to be dead. Maybe I'd schedule it to go out like in the year 2150 or something like that, you know, so that no one that's alive today would ever see it. I don't know. But I just thought it was interesting because I was remembering little things that I'd totally forgotten about, and just remembering people that I'd forgotten about and events that I'd forgotten about. Like when I went all around like East London, I had a 6-month phase of just going around East London and just hanging out there with various people. And I was like, oh fuck, I forgot about that. And I forgot about that guy as well. And he had like that girlfriend and she was all right. And like, you know, and then they had those friends down at that random pub that we went to twice in like 2018 or whatever. And I completely forgot about all of that. And it's kind of interesting how, you know, you forget about certain things because you rewrite your own past to fit what your present is a little bit, don't you? And because you're trying to write your present for the benefit of your future, and you're kind of rewriting your past for the benefit of your present. And it's just nice to have what could be as closely depicted as an accurate representation of this present day. And I say present day kind of loosely because it's the last 10 years pretty much. But, you know, the general present rather than like a long, long, long time ago or a long, long time in the future. It's nice to just get that down. And what I would say to you is just, you must have loads of footage. You must have loads of footage from like maybe school or maybe like after school or like just stuff on your phone where you've just got little videos and stuff or pictures. Like I like to just put the pictures at the end of these vlogs and then just put like one of my tracks, whatever my newest track is, my newest song, and just put that underneath just so, you know, you get an idea of what was going on, what was I making at that time, what was I doing at that time, who was I talking to, what was my temperament, what was my, you know, what was I into, like what kind of references am I making to various like films or bits of music and stuff like that. Am I like referencing completely different things to what I am now? Oh, almost certainly. And I just thought it was really sort of satisfying, and I've sat down and watched a couple, like not in full, I've kind of skipped through them and watched maybe a couple minutes here and a couple minutes there and just seen what takes my fancy. And it's just quite satisfying. There's a lot of cringeworthy stuff on there. Like a lot of, because like, you know, you're 17, 18, 19, you're drinking and stuff like that. And there's a lot of like dumb shit on there, which, you know, I wouldn't release any of these to the world, particularly because, you know, I don't have the permission of the people who are in these videos, and I wouldn't do that. But I just, and I kind of like the idea that they're a private archive for just for me, and like, you know, maybe in 50 years, my grandkids, I could sort of like if I tell them some kind of story from nowadays, which to them would be like the past, and I would probably refer to it as the good old days, back when we all knew what was going on, didn't we? Unlike now in the 2070s when everything's all confusing, isn't it? And it's just quite nice. And that's all this video is about, is just to say to you, like, take some of that footage that you've got, you must have some, and just like put it together in one big long compilation, and just that way you can get, like, you don't have to worry that you're going to lose all of this stuff at a certain point. Because, you do with time, don't you? You can just keep this stuff on like a USB stick or an external hard drive or something, and just keep that there for decades. Maybe like, because the hard drives don't last forever, you might need to shift it onto another hard drive in like 10 years or something, but that's fine. You only need to do that 3 times, and then bam, you're 30 years in the future. And like 30 years from now is like, I'm not going to remember today with any kind of accuracy. So it's nice to have that objective depiction. I remember I read a journal entry of one of my mates, which was about us hanging out like 10 years ago. And we were like pointing at bits like, when the fuck did that happen? What was that? Do you remember that? No, I don't remember that. And it's like, and I started wondering, am I just making shit up in these journals? Was that what I was doing? And no, I'm sure I wasn't, because I was quite dedicated to being accurate with exactly how I was feeling. And like, when I first started the journal, it was a way to sort of, figure out, I guess, teenage angst and stuff like that. And then as that goes on, it starts to become more just a general. It kind of goes from the opposite of teenage angst to like just trying to motivate myself and trying to like force positivity on myself. And both approaches were kind of satisfying. It's nice to see like where the development of the writing style kind of goes. There's a long phase where I got really like Oscar Wilde-ish with my descriptions and just like trying to overly flowery language and stuff like that. And that was kind of pretentious, and that was a little phase. And then there's a phase after that where I go completely the other direction. Everything's just like the most simple stuff, like I went to Lidl and I did this, and then I went to see this guy and we did this, and then I went home. And that's kind of nice as well, because you don't need to have the most in-depth recollection. You don't need to do what I did, which was sometimes some of these single-day journal entries would be like 10,000 words long, going into like telling the entire day out like it's a part of a novel or something like that. You don't need to do that. You can if you want. It's fun, and it doesn't take vastly long. It took probably about 2 hours to write that 10,000 words, because it's not like you're writing a Stephen King novel or something. You're just typing out exactly what happened just like that, just almost subconsciously. You got like a podcast or whatever on in the background. I like to listen to Bolero when I'm writing stuff. I find Bolero gets me to write a lot faster. So I put that on and I just typed stuff. And it's quite nice. So, even if you don't have any archive footage or like old videos and stuff like that, maybe just like start writing a bit of a journal. Maybe just start it, see how you feel about it, type down your thoughts, because it helps you to figure out what you're thinking in the present day and to actually sort of understand your own mentality in this present moment, which can be very useful for, yourself and your development, because no matter what your age is, you're always developing in some way. Even if you're not like physically developing, you're at least sort of trying to learn something, whether that be like some way of how the world works, or like trying to keep up with the modern day, or like trying to understand the human connection, the human experience, or whatever. You're just trying to figure out how to be the best version of yourself that you can be. And I think that journaling is a very good way of getting to that. And it's not like you write a journal and you suddenly become Buddha or something, but you just it's just nice, it's just fun. And I thought I'd make this video to tell you that it is fun and you should give it a go, really. So leave your comments in the description comments box, right, about your experience with journaling. Have you done it? Did you get any satisfaction out of it? Do you maybe think that a personal archive is a really good thing? Or maybe you think it's a bad thing. Maybe you don't want to know what you were doing 30 years ago. Maybe you see that as like a horrible thing. And if so, I'd love to understand why, because I'm of the other mentality. I'm a big archivist. I love to archive stuff. And almost a completionist in that regard, where I try and get everything down, get every single video and every single clip, and try and tell it all in the most clear-cut way possible. And that's pretty much the video. Hope you have a good rest of the day. It doesn't take long to do a bit of a journal entry. It can take you like 10 minutes. So there's no reason not to. Give it a try. If you don't like it, then stop. No one's forcing you. So yeah, Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Have a good rest of the day. Take care, and bye-bye.